Unity session. I'm Bhante Warapanyo, and we are here in the present moment as we usually are in the monk life or the life of people who are concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I thought it would be a great opportunity having this YouTube channel and being on a retreat with my teacher, Sayadaw Otamasara, here in California to go live and to invite the members of the community to join in some practice of the Dhamma, reading the Dhamma, studying the Dhamma, listening to the Dhamma together. It's a really great opportunity to feel that we aren't alone in our practice. And immediately upon being here, and I'm at the Buddhist temple, and you're kind of at the Buddhist temple here with me, in a sense, we're already connected and interested and getting involved with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. So it's already quite a blessing to be here and to have this chance to look into the Dhamma together. I think we'll start by paying homage to the Buddha, and then we'll look into some Dhamma texts together. Okay? Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham saranam gacchami. Dhammam saranam gacchami. Sangham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Dutiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Buddham saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Dhammam saranam gacchami. Tatiyampi Sangham saranam gacchami. I pay homage to the Buddha, the Blessed One, the fully enlightened one. I take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. And I invite you to as well. It's a good starting point when we show up for the live meditation session to take on our personal responsibility to be mindful, to be grounded, mindful, grounded, open-hearted, and contacting the depth of the mind. The mind is not shallow. It's not surface level, just this or that thought. But we can go very deeply into the heart of the mind with our mindfulness, with how we hold our body, with how we bring our attention into the body, using the breath, for example. And we connect ourselves to the present moment by becoming embodied in this moment. And when we're sitting upright or when we're sitting in a stable, solid position, our ears open, our nose opens, our eyes open, our heart opens, our lungs open, and we're ready to be receptive, be pliable to the teachings of the Buddha, the teachings that lead us out of suffering, away from suffering to nibbana, to peace, to enlightenment. And maybe we won't get the whole thing, but we can get a piece of enlightenment, and that's more than enough to be happy and to heal some of the stress and the difficulties that we may have been going through recently, and kind of see that light shining through the clouds of our difficulty, our suffering, our depression, whatever it might be. So what we're going to do today, I noticed that the comments are off. I set on the stream settings, I set it to that it's made for kids. And this is made for kids. This is meant to be accessible to children, to understand, to get value from, to practice with, and to feel safe with. And that does mean that the comments are turned off, but I'm sure we can all appreciate a little bit of silence in our Dhamma lecture today. So we'll start with a poem that just appeared to me right here. We'll have a little bit of tea. I don't know if you have your teapot and your teacup ready. If you don't, you can enjoy the tea that I have with me. And then we're going to look into the sacred, this is Bante's sacred library of Dhamma texts that he keeps with him all the time. This is one of my essential items that I keep with me in my pack all the time, always at the ready. I don't read, study as much as I'd like to, but I always like to have this with me. And so we'll read that poem, and we'll have a sip of tea. It's been a long day, and we'll look through this and we'll see what kind of Dhamma we can come across and hopefully make use of to enlighten our lives a little bit. Does that sound good to everyone? I hope so. Scorpion tails and wolf hearts pervade the world. Everyone has a trick to get ahead. But how many smiles in a lifetime or moments of peace in a day? Who can change tracks when their cart tips over? When disaster strikes, there's no time for shame. This old monk isn't merely pointing fingers. He's trying to remove people's blinders and chains. Shall we read it again? Scorpion tails and wolf hearts pervade the world. Everyone has a trick to get ahead. But how many smiles in a lifetime or moments of peace in a day? Who can change tracks when their cart tips over? When disaster strikes, there's no time for shame. This old monk isn't merely pointing fingers. He's trying to remove people's blinders and chains. And something quite important, because I run into this a lot in my Dhamma outreach work. Sometimes it can seem like I'm blaming someone, or I'm blaming anger, or I'm blaming negative people, or blaming you for suffering. But it's not really about that. It's a matter of pointing out negativity so that you can recognize that negativity is to be removed. negativity is to be purified. It's not something that we just have to be complacent with or be bound by. It's something to be recognized and plucked out. How about that tea? And the Kindle, Bante's Dhamma treasure trove, actually doubles as a tea table. Not a lot of people know that. This is some wonderful tea, some ripe pu'er tea, very expensive tea that a good friend of mine, Alidio, who I met at Deer Park Monastery a year or 2 years ago, and has sent me some nice, just packages, care packages of appreciation and care. They're a really lovely person, and he sent me this tea, and I'm gonna be drinking the rest of it, which is in this teapot. So that's what I'm gonna do right now. I don't know how well you can hear me from where you are, but the Buddha, one of the things the Buddha teaches in a verse in the Dhammapada that I was looking at just a little bit before this live stream, is that it's actually quite foolish of us to seek satisfaction or to seek freedom in sensual pleasure, sensual experiences. So the trick is to make every sensual experience an excuse for mindfulness. And then you're practicing with what is there. Now don't think that gives you a right to a shot of tequila. But a cup of tea in the evening, yes, it's okay for me at this moment. So let's see what Dhamma we can come up with today. Hope everyone can still hear me. One more poem, okay? The crow and the hare race without rest, living among cliffs. Sorry, let's go back to the beginning. The crow and the hare race without rest. Living among cliffs, I am suddenly old. My reflection looks thin when I walk beside a stream. My eyes have turned blue, viewing mountains through pines. I gather red leaves to fill my tea stove. I pick yellow flowers for my altar vase. Working for the wine of profit and fame, others get drunk and can't be revived. So we don't want to be in that situation. And we have to recognize that there is a kind of biological, a genetic, a evolutionary. It's not just from us, but it's ancestral karma. Okay, this seeking for profit, this seeking for pleasure, this seeking for fame, right? We want to be famous. We don't want to be notoriously negative, a notoriously negative person. We want to have profit. We don't want to have loss, right? So there's an experience in that we all have to deal with, and we don't disassociate from that. Don't get this idea. It's easy for me. Look what I'm wearing. You say, oh, I'm doing everything from this completely pure intention. No, of course, I like to be praised. I don't like to be blamed. I like to experience pleasure. I don't like to experience pain. I like to experience profit. I don't like to experience loss. That's in me. I see those seeds in me. And so the work of being on the mountain and being with the present and being with what is already, here and now, is that we don't get drunk in this seeking, because we incorporate mindfulness into every minutia of our experience. And we can remember what the last poem said as well. This isn't about pointing fingers. I'm not, hey, Bhante, don't blame me, right? It's about pointing out that which is to be aware of so that it can be untangled, so that it can be broken. We are the chain breakers. Okay? The chain breakers of greed, anger, delusion. The chain breakers of this drunkenness of ignorance and attachment. Okay? We drink the elixir. We produce the energy of mindfulness and detachment. This was here, now it's not, and there's no attachment to that. That's the principle. The practice is a naturally occurring state of impermanence as it relates to all phenomena. So we want to access that energy because that energy is limitless. Whereas the energy of permanence, just like this tea, right? The tea leaves in here is temporary, it's limited. So that you can only pour so much water through these tea leaves before that water is clear. Okay? And if you have any pertinent questions during this live stream or comments, you can ask them to the Bhante within yourself. But I can't guarantee that he'll give you the right answer. So that every situation, every person, every experience, everything is an excuse for mindfulness and detachment. No discussion, no debate, no argument, no excuse. That's the way it is. That's the way we practice. That's the way we embody the path. We don't make deals with demons. We don't try to convince other people that we're doing a good job or we're trying to do the right thing. We don't try to convince ourselves of that. We practice mindfulness of breathing, mindfulness of seeing, mindfulness of hearing, mindfulness of the body being. And we detach from those particular thoughts, those particular sights, and especially the conceiving about what is experienced. We detach from that so that we may not be fools and that we may be better caretakers for this world. As we falter, as we sink, as we drown in greed, anger, and delusion, non-practical, complicated thinking, frustration, and the fear of our never-ending greediness, we take refuge in the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. That's what's going on here. We don't take refuge in our opinions, and we don't take refuge in our interpretations. We test through mindfulness and detachment. We test through our experience. We make decisions not based on what we desire or what we fear, but what we dare to give up. What we dare to abandon. Some things, some aspects of life you don't dare to abandon. So you can't make a decision based on what you don't dare to abandon, because that decision is already made. But what you do dare to abandon can be the foundation, the ground on which actions are taken. And in the larger scheme of things, all will be lost. You can point to any molecule, any atom. You can point to space itself and hear the sound, I am death, destroyer of worlds. Or, I am ever new impermanent nature. All phenomena, all that arises will cease by my as it isness of any particle. All right. I don't know what's happening, but we're going forward with the poetry. A thatch hut in blue mountains, beside a green stream. After so many years, visits are now up to me. A few peach and plum trees blooming red and white. A green and yellow field of vegetables and wheat. All night I sit in bed listening to rain. When it clears, I open the window and doze off, watching clouds. Nothing in life is better than being free, but getting free isn't luck. Nothing in life is better than being free, but getting free isn't luck. It means we have to fight for our freedom. We have to endure everything. We have to sit with, we have to be with everything as it is. No more excuses, no more choices, no more actions based on desire. This is the work, this is the practice, and this is the freedom as well. So we don't need to get exhausted by the work because the freedom is within each moment of that work. Just in the same way that the destination is within each moment of the journey, and vice versa. That's the nature of the journey and the destination. They inter-are. Questions, comments? Okay. Let's go to Bodhidharma. Why not? Listen closely, thee who are already not. Whoever realizes that the six senses, eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind. Whoever realizes that the six senses aren't real, that the five aggregates are fictions, five skandhas, form, sensation, perception, impulse, and consciousness, the constituents, the conglomerates that form the mind. Whoever realizes that the six senses aren't real, that the five aggregates, or that the everything that makes up the mind is a fiction, that no such things can be located anywhere in the body, understands the language of Buddhas. The language of Buddhas. The sutras say the cave of five aggregates is the hall of Zen. The opening of the inner eye is the door of the great vehicle. What could be clearer? So the cave, the internal structure of the eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, this situation that you're in, that the wine can't get you out of, that the sexual experiences can't get you out of, that the seeking to be a wealthy person or to have relationships or to have status or to get away from what's causing you to suffering, to realize that all of that within you is the hall of Zen, the hall of enlightenment, the cave of enlightenment. And when we practice to bring the mind home to the body, to bring our attention inside, to practice, to be Zen, that is the opening of the inner eye. And this is the door of the great vehicle to liberation. What could be clearer than that? Enter the hall of Zen. Within all this, and open the inner eye. This is the door of the great vehicle to enlightenment. Complicated thoughts, philosophies, belief systems, UFOs, politics, everything that you think about, that you think is important, is not the way to enlightenment. The sutras say the cave of 5 aggregates is the hall of Zen. Form, feelings, perceptions, even more so, even more cumulative than the 6 senses. The opening of the inner eye is the door of the great vehicle. What could be clearer? Now listen to this. Not thinking about anything is Zen. What does Zen mean? Zen means enlightenment, okay? Truth, the way, the Buddha nature, the Buddha mind, Nibbana. Not thinking about anything is Zen. Once you know this, walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, everything you do is Zen. And we could put already there. This is something I don't yet fully understand, but not thinking about anything is Zen. Once you know this, walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, everything you do is Zen, or everything you do is the practice. Everything you do is meditation. I had someone today, actually they gave me a gift at a pawn shop. We're looking at buying some property here in Los Angeles to open up a donation center, meditation center in the area, and we'd really like to do kind of a goodwill store, like a Buddhist goodwill store. But they gave me this kind of artifact here. And they asked me, well, how often do you meditate? How many hours a day do you meditate? 24/7, all the time. If I'm not asleep, I'm meditating. And this is where the relative and the absolute meet the arrow point of mindfulness and detachment. To know that the mind is empty is to see the Buddha. The Buddhas of the 10 directions have no mind. All Buddhas throughout space and time have no mind. To see no mind is to see the Buddha. Now, we have to have a little bit of faith here. And it's not different from being in the midst of a storm and having faith that the clear blue sky is behind that, and that it's held together with space. You can't see it, you can't feel the sunlight on your skin, but somehow you know that it's there. Somehow you know that freedom is here. Somehow you know that Nibbana, that freedom is possible. If you didn't know that, if you couldn't feel that in some sense, you wouldn't seek it out, because it would simply be too ridiculous of a notion. It wouldn't be worthwhile to seek it. Freedom, right? But we can feel that there is a freedom. There is an emptiness. that pervades the whole universe, that is very simple and accessible to us in a certain way. Now, does this mean that you should form a religion in your head after, making a transcription of this talk? No, I'm not going to do that. I'm going to practice mindfulness and detachment. But I'm concerned with the Buddha, the Dhamma, and the Sangha. I have faith in the Buddha. I have faith in the Dhamma. I have faith in the Sangha. That's why I'm here. And I'm along for the ride. Because uh, I'm not content with suffering. Now, what I do, how I kind of practice is, you know, in any moment when I'm not beholden to delusions, non-practical, complicated thoughts, at any moment when there's a sense of opening, there's a sense of space there. I can just sense a sense of space there. I step back, and then I step back from the stepping back itself. So it's a kind of widening out into an immersive experience of just experiencing. Which means subtle sounds, subtle movements, subtle sensations, subtle thoughts, subtle aspects of experience, instead of just clugging along. And we can apply that to anything. You can apply that to TikTok, watching TikTok. You can apply that to watching YouTube videos. You can apply that to anything. It's just that a lot of the times we're doing things not because we're choosing or that's in line with kind of the direction that we feel is right or beneficial, but we're just compulsively doing that. And that's where the mindfulness and the detachment, or the mindfulness and the it's a kind of separation. The mindfulness and the stepping back can cut into that, even as it's happening, even as it's being experienced. Watching the TikTok, watching the YouTube, feeling the anxiety, feeling the depression, feeling the delusions. So instead of indulging in the sense of indulgence, use the indulgence, because some things are very nice, right? Use the indulgence as the penetration point for the directness of the experience, for the subtlety of the alreadiness of the experience that is not someone, not something. But don't get drunk on it. Don't get drunk in it. Don't perpetuate thinking about it. Don't fetishize it. Right? We fetishize drinking alcohol. We fetishize eating meat. Right? We fetishize going on a vacation somewhere. And that means that we've lost the penetration point of the suchness in the niceties of what is already. And this is what is already. Just in the same way that the volcano under California exploding right now is not going to look for the contract details. What are the details of the contract? I'm roaring to explode. And then I say, well, wait a minute, I'm actually sitting here, I'm giving a Dhamma talk, and then the volcano says, well, I haven't even seen the contract yet. And now I'm talking to a volcano while I'm trying to share in the glory of the Dhamma. So you can see it's quite absurd. A lot of these positions that we hold on to, these opinions, these positions, these notions of ultimacy in something. What's ultimate is not something, not someone. You can use it as a mantra. Not someone, not something. Then we can say neither someone nor not someone, nor anything at all, already. Can you experience that? No. Because where are you? Where is you? A thought is not you. So where is you? Well, what are you doing? Are you a gorilla? No, nothing against gorillas. But usually we don't communicate like that. And Bodhidharma, for whatever reason, tells us straight out. Bodhidharma says, look, whoever realizes that the 6 senses aren't real, and that the 5 aggregates, or everything that makes up the supposed you, or the direct experience, the body, the mind, the material forms, the names, the sensations, the impulses, the type of involvements we get into mentally. Whoever realizes that the 6 senses aren't real, and that everything that makes up the supposed you are fictions, all the things that make up the supposed you are fictions, that no such things can be located anywhere in the body, understands the language of Buddhas. And that is to say that there is no thing that can be located in the body. And that there is no separate thing, there is no separate self-entity that can be located anywhere. And this is the nature of contradictions. Because how did they make this phone? How did they prepare this tea? How did I order it? And yet, the tea in my hand fell from the moon in a single dewdrop. Agree or disagree with mindfulness and detachment. To see no mind is to see the Buddha. To give up yourself without regret is the greatest charity. To give up yourself without regret is the greatest charity. To abandon yourself, to let go of yourself, to use your body and mind to donate your body and mind to suchness, to that which is everything. To willingly let go of, to willingly detach from yourself, your desires, your fears, your preferences, your affiliations. To give yourself up, the judge, the commander, the controller, the manager, the boss, the strong one, the chooser. To give up the chooser, to give up the judger. To give up yourself without regret is the greatest charity. And we work with that in terms of making donations, volunteering, serving, sharing our skills, sharing our possessions with the others. Because the self identifies with all these things, right? So where would your self be if your body wasn't here, or if your mind wasn't here? And what kind of state would your self be? What kind of self would it be if you didn't have your eyes, ears, nose, tongue, body, mind, etc.? And we also apply that to our possessions, our skills, our abilities, the positions that we hold in society or in the relationships with others, right? So to give up yourself without regret, without secondary thinking, without looking back for a tax exemption, is the greatest charity. The problem in our meditation, what keeps us back from that big kaboom, okay? That big win, that big W, okay? Is that we're trying to get something out of our meditation. We're trying to get something out of our relationships with the world, our relationships with other people. And that means that we can't fully, authentically be with them. But it's not quite that easy because we play a lot of different roles, and we should play a lot of different roles. A caretaker, a monk, a doctor, a judge, a pharmacist, a landscaper, a gardener, a farmer, a teacher, a student. So we give up ourselves in a lot of different ways. Once we think that there's this one particular way to give up ourselves, there's this one particular way to do good deeds, there's this one particular way to be generous, we've lost our freedom, and it becomes a compulsive behavior. We're widening out. We're exposing ourselves to the world, to the universe, saying everything, everything, not someone, not something, no self. We're walking in the streets with our arms spread out, wearing strange clothes, saying, no self, no self, everything, everything. Mekyo, mekyo, which means irrelevant. Don't do that in LA or wherever you happen to live. Okay, this is something we do in specialized centers, specialized places. We got to be careful. We're not running off to the races. We're practicing where we already are. and practicing not seeking in the midst of the greatest goal and the greatest endeavor for all beings, for everyone, as imperfect and as vulnerable, as suffering, as inadequate as we may seem to be to others or to ourselves. You're always wrong in somebody's eyes, but learn how to be kind to the wrongness that you see within yourself. Kind, gentle, patient, compassionate, generous, forgiving, tender. Patient. To transcend motion and stillness is the highest meditation. Mortals keep moving, normal everyday people keep moving, and arahats stay still. But the highest meditation surpasses both that of mortals and that of arahants. So kind of like we say, this is really getting into some more high-end materials. But these are people who are free from passion by fully cultivating stillness. So at that time, an arahant, their mind is just stillness. And as such, they don't have any more passions. Their mind is just stillness. So ordinary people keep moving along and arahants stay still. But the highest meditation surpasses both that of mortals and that of arahats. People who reach such understanding free themselves from all appearances without effort and cure all illnesses without treatment. Such is the power of great Zen, or the alreadiness of the great compassion. Using the mind to look for reality is delusion. Not using the mind to look for reality is awareness. Hear, hear. Order in the court. Using the mind, so we can, look at this in terms of our perceptual, our cognitive, our intellectual, our judging mind, our controlling mind, our opinionated mind, all right? Using the mind to look for reality is delusion. Not using the mind to look for reality is awareness. Freeing oneself from words is liberation. Remaining unblemished by the dust of sensation is guarding the Dharma. Unblemished here is non-reactivity, awareness of sensations but not reacting to them as such. 53 minutes, we're really... I really hope that I'm a little bit bashful to speak this way, but I really hope that these sessions and these teachings and this presentation in general is bringing benefit to people. I'm inspired and confident to share because this is a way for me to practice. This is a way for me to stay connected to the path and to be inspired and feel engaged. And I do hope that it's meaningfully benefiting our Sangha, our community, the people who are concerned with these teachings, with me. That's my sincere hope. And I do solemnly swear, hand on the Kindle, um, that I'm gonna do my best, and that's why I'm here where I am right now, trying to do my best. Not quite the best in the West, but sometimes I'm delusional enough to think I'm the best in any sense, which means I'm grasping onto a self, a someone. So that mindfulness and detachment is non-comparative, right? It's like that bestness when it comes to the spiritual practice is connection with reality, seeing reality, being with reality, right? And what does Bodhidharma say about this? He says, look, guys, gals, y'all, everybody, everything, all beings, using the mind to look for reality is delusion. Now, that's something that I take refuge in. Now, if I'm in the garden and I've got my hands covered in human ore, right? I've got my hands covered in the feces of the community that's been processed into compost as such, and I'm preparing the mango tree, the mango collection, tree collection, and some guy or some monk who's around or somebody comes up to me and says, using the mind to look for reality is delusion. Well, what's so wrong with that? And so it's not that these teachings get us into a mental lock or we're having a conniption because these teachings, but rather that it's a kind of it's a warm breeze in the snow of simple, ordinary experience of this moment as it already is. And it's to be appreciated and to be made use of, to follow the path of Buddhism as best as you can, as much as you can. Dana, Sila, Bhavana, Samadhi, Panya. Generosity, virtue, cultivation, absorption into meditation, and wisdom, insight, the power of the eyes that see clearly, that can cut, that can penetrate through delusion, that can penetrate through anger, that can penetrate through our greediness. So that we will live, more happy, peaceful lives. And that's enough. And if we're happy and peaceful, we're going to be in a wonderful position to help each other and help the environment and make beautiful environments and make places and be a safe place for children, for women, for people in need, for people with mental health issues, for people with disabilities, for the LGBTQIA, etc. community, for the BIPOC community, for Aboriginal people, all of this. We will be a refuge in adversity. Adversity will activate the refuge within us. That's what this is pointing us to. Let's wrap up. Using the mind to look for reality is delusion. Not using the mind to look for reality is awareness. Freeing oneself from words is liberation. Remaining unblemished by the dust of sensation is guarding the Dharma. Transcending life and death is leaving home. So it's kind of it's the true expression of what the robes represent. Right? The robes represent Shakyamuni Buddha's you know, leaving everything behind to seek enlightenment. And of course, he got it. And so leaving home is often used as a term for becoming a monk or nun. So we actually represent, and we are the container, we are the form of transcending life and death. But real transcending life and death is formless. So that's why to be a true member of the Sangha, yes, you can be a ordained monk or nun, real monk, real nun, etc. Or you can be a real transcender. But it's a lot easier said than done, and it's oftentimes perceived and understood in a way that's a lot more gross than it actually is. It's very, very subtle. These stages of enlightenment, what enlightenment is, what it means to enter the stream of the path, is very, very subtle, and very few people understand it. I don't understand it fully, or at all, at all. So, freeing oneself from words is liberation. Remaining unblemished by the dust of sensation is guarding the Dharma. Transcending life and death is leaving home. Not suffering another existence is reaching the way. Not creating delusions is enlightenment. Not engaging in ignorance is wisdom. No affliction is nirvana. And no appearance of the mind is the other shore. When you're deluded, this shore exists. When you wake up, it doesn't exist. Dear Sangha, dear community, thank you so much for spending the time to listen to this talk. I hope that it brought about within you a sense of inspiration, a sense of safety, a sense of access to refuge, and a sense of commitment to be free. May all beings near or far away, living or not living, born or yet to be born, human beings and non-human beings alike who have heard this Dhamma, may they be well, happy, and peaceful. May they be free from all suffering, and for that matter, all beings throughout all space and time, having heard the Dhamma or not, may they come to hear the Dhamma. May they be peaceful and free from all suffering. May the path truly open for us all, and may we have a very, very great day with many moments of peace and a life full of smiles. May it be, may it be, may it truly, truly, truly be. Sadhu. 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 relax, release, whole body and mind. Thank you for being here. See you again soon. If you have any questions or comments, complaints, don't be shy to reach out.